franktalks.com.
During the fall and winter months, when people who would normally rather be single or promiscuous find themselves, along with the rest of the world, desiring to be cuffed or tied down by a serious relationship. Now, back on the program to talk about cuffing is relationship coach Frank Kermit. He joins us via Skype from here in Montreal. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
Just tickety-boo. Thanks once again for being on the program with us. So we're deep in the cuffing season. Is this something that affects more men than women or vice versa?
I got to tell you, it has to do more, not necessarily with gender, but what I see in my practice of coaching with family expectations. The idea is that if somebody is single going into any holiday season, they're going to be facing family. And it's just easier for someone to say, yes, I'm with someone, I'm with a partner, or bringing somebody along to those family functions, so that you don't have to hear things like, oh, don't worry, someday you'll find someone. Or, you know what, since you're single, there's someone I want to introduce you to. Or, well, why are you single? Are you just too picky? What's wrong with you? Sometimes it's just easier to hook up with an ex-partner of yours, especially if you just broke up going into the holiday period. So it's just a matter of, okay, look, let's see if we can work this out. And what ends up happening, of course, is that they go through the holiday period. They're not happy. There's some resentment. There's some anxiety. You know the person is not happy. You wonder, well, is the person just going to dump me right after the holidays? It's not a very good feeling. And, of course, once the holidays are over, it might be time, especially here in North America, we have the holidays going into December. And, of course, by Valentine's Day, people reassess and say, you know, this just isn't for me, and they're going through a similar heartbreak at a different holiday.
Is it a situation where there's a boomerang effect on several occasions? Like, in other words, if somebody is going to get deeply into the cuffing season now, are they actually likely to repeat it again the following year if they're not in another relationship by that point?
People are their repeating behavior patterns. And if they're used to getting into relationships for the wrong reason, for example, never mind if the person is compatible, I just don't want to be alone for the holidays. Well, chances are if you find yourself single the following year, you're going to follow through on the repeating behavior pattern that you did the last time. So, yeah, people can repeat this type of situation, and sometimes even with the same ex-partners.
Isn't that what you just described, though, a typical description of someone who is codependent? And wouldn't the other party recognize this unless they themselves are codependent?
Well, no, first of all, I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm not a psychologist, so I am not qualified to diagnose anybody as being codependent or not. What I can say is that it definitely is the sign of an on-again, off-again relationship, which is not emotionally healthy. For every reason that you're together, there's another reason that you keep breaking up and going away. Sometimes it's an inability to cope with, negative emotion. You don't know how to handle your frustration or your anger or your resentment. You end up blowing up at your partner. You end up breaking up with your partner. And then when you calm down, you end up going back together because you really do have a love and an affinity for one another. You may not know how to manage a relationship, but you do know what you're feeling in the moment. So if you are in this procedure, if you are in this habit of on again, off again, well, it's going to happen for you all year long. And that's not emotionally healthy in the long term. Because again, instead of learning to simply deal with the intense emotions you might be feeling, you're already in the pattern of taking the easy way out, of walking away from the situation and taking days, if not weeks, to figure out what it is you want and then to reconnect. It's not a good thing.
Okay, so I already brought up the negative possibilities of what this relationship could be all about. What about the positive side? Let's look at it from an optimistic point of view. Is it not a possibility that in some cases getting back with an ex might be the best thing for you. You've both had an opportunity to grow as individuals while you were apart, and maybe coming together is just what you needed in the first place.
Look, I'm a resident hopeless romantic, so I'm always hopeful that people be able to reconnect and move forward, especially when I'm doing couples coaching, where I my goal is to try and make the couple, because nobody comes to a coach when they're fighting within a couple to figure out how they should break up. They're trying to figure out how can we make this work, and if we can't make this work, then how do we manage a separation? But their primary goal is how do we stay together. So is it a good thing when two exes get back together? It really depends on why they broke up, and if one or both people in the couple have gone through some sort of catharsis, some sort of change.
Now, you've written this article. You've written articles on the cuffing season. There are other articles out there about the cuffing season. Reading the one that you wrote, you specifically talk about the holiday season when it happens. Others I've noticed combine the idea of the holiday season, but also the idea of the fall and winter months, because that's when people start cocooning. So which is the stronger draw? Is it the holidays or is it the season? And the reason why I bring that up is, as you know, in the Southern Hemisphere, they have the holidays at the warmer time of the year. Winter is starting in our summer, and in the winter time, it's Christmas for them, or at December rather, it's Christmas for them in the summertime. Is cuffing a situation that happens in the Southern Hemisphere at the same time as it happens here?
When we're talking about weather patterns and how they may affect a relationship, when the weather is warmer, people are more inclined to be a lot more adventurous because they're more inclined to go out and be willing to meet people. And in areas that tend to get colder, you still have those diehards who are willing to go out, meet people, have fun regardless of the weather. And then you have those people who really don't want to travel through the snow and the ice and so on. And they may be tempted to do the cuffing thing and finding an ex. So is it a factor? Absolutely, it's a factor. What is the greater factor? The greater factor is even people in warmer climates who are about to face a holiday season are feeling the pressure that they don't want to be alone for the holidays. Is weather a factor? 100% weather is going to be a factor, but it's not the only factor. And the stronger motivation, at least as far as I see from my client base as a coach, is that the holidays are a significant time of reflection. They're a time when people are getting together. And it's not a time when people want to be alone. Those who suffer from any sort of, whether it's mental illness, whether it's emotional distress, or people who are suffering in poverty with financial situations, the holidays are a very particular time when everybody feels a little bit more hurt, because it's significant. There's a significance to the holidays that it's a time for celebration and a time of coming together. And if you don't have someone to share it with, you feel that lack of presence ever so more.
Okay, so let me ask you this then, last question. What do you say to your clients? And I'm asking this from 2 points of view. What do you say to people out there who might be thinking of getting back together with their ex? And what do you say to people whose exes are lurking around wanting to get back with them? Is the advice to these two parties different or the same?
Okay, if you're in the position where your ex wants to reach out to you and you're wondering whether or not they legitimately want to make things work, or if they are maybe just suffering from cuffing season and are looking for a warm body to be with during the holiday season, my advice is, why did you break up? Look at why you broke up. And if you're okay with giving the person a chance, if you truly believe the person has changed or you've changed, whatever it was that maybe have pushed that person away, then yeah, it's okay to give that person a chance. But be mindful that the time you're going to put into that is time lost if it turns out to be the wrong person. Learn your lesson, move on, and if you have to learn the lesson again, you may be losing time. For the other person, the person who's saying to me, hey, I want to get back together with my ex because we're going into the holidays, my advice would be very careful, because you are actually better off spending the holidays alone than making the mistake of getting back with your ex for the wrong reason.
Being alone could be part of a growth period, could it not?
Exactly. So let's say you're going into a holiday season, which is typically something that, oh, I've never been alone for this particular holiday period. Well, maybe some time alone to reevaluate the choices you made that got you there. Because you've made a series of choices that led to you being alone. There were red flags you missed along the way, or maybe you saw them, but you ignored them. So maybe you do need to go through a rock bottom and experience a horrible holiday season and use that, as you said, as a step for personal growth so that the following year you don't have to deal with that again.
Excellent advice. And if people want more advice, where can they find you, Frank?
Okay, everything you want to know about Frank Kermit is at franktalks.com. Franktalks with an S.com. All of my ebooks are there, all of my audio programs. Sign up for coaching. I'm a great guy, and I'll be like your big brother helping to guide you through the world of dating relationships.
Thank you very much, Frank, and I'll be the first one to say it, happy holidays to you.
To you as well, Peter. All the best.
Relationship coach Frank Kermit.
Need help with love, sex, dating and relationships? Visit Frank